From the very beginning of leather, hunters and gatherers around the world have used obsidian as part of that process. And without obsidian, you wouldn't have been able to have that start.
We primarily specialize in custom furniture as well as leather architectural installations.
We have a pretty hard rule now that we don't do any rush projects for parties.
You know, in the past, we built a home, and it was kind of before we were so deeply involved in the industry. We didn't know the right people to go to. Our contractor, something wasn't done well, and our contractor told us that's just the industry standard. And I vowed to have my industry standard always be the highest quality. And I think that's really what people expect of us and why they come to us.
The construction world is fascinating, but it's not perfect. Behind every building you admire, there are creators, dreamers, and problem solvers bringing ideas to life. Join me as we uncover the stories and insights of the professionals shaping the world around us. Hello everyone, welcome to Creative Blueprints. Today I'm in a different spot. Finally we have a business owner, which is very exciting. And also, this is a material that I was in the past passionate about it because I was fabricating some purses in leather. So leather is one of my favorite materials. And we are here with Obsidian Leather Goods. Welcome to Creative Blueprints, guys.
Thank you.
If you can just start the conversation, just like letting me know what are your names and also what is the company about, a little bit of a story, how that emerged, why you decided to work with this amazing material, how many years of experience you have, who are you working with, why you enjoy to work with leather. So just tell me a little bit more.
Absolutely. I'm Sandra and
Carson, yeah.
We're a husband and wife team.
So I started out with leather really as an inspiration through footwear design. I really enjoyed the craftsmanship and the details that went into specifically men's dress shoes from the 1800s to the present, and was really fascinated by that. And during school, I focused a lot of interest in footwear design. And through that, I was looking for a way to translate those design motifs and creativity into something that was more independent, because footwear is very large, commercialized business with lots of different sizing issues, and it's not something that you can go out on your own and really do as an independent maker. I mean, there are people that do that. But it wasn't the direction that I wanted to go. And so I started making custom bicycle seats wrapped in those design motifs, brogue wingtip kind of style designs. And so through that, it kind of snowballed into doing furniture and other things, and with leather. And that's really been the kind of the beginning of why we started doing it. And we just really love it as a material. It has a longevity that is kind of unmatched for a soft good out there. Fabrics are not going to last as long as leather. There's tons of examples of leather being pulled up from ships that have been sunk under the ocean for 200 years and still being used, and things like that. So that's why we really like the material. Is it's just going to stick around for a really long time, and when it doesn't stick around anymore, it just goes back to the earth. It's not going to poison anything in the process.
And now we are in your facilities. So if you can tell me what we can see in the background, for how long you have been here.
So we moved into this facility actually in November of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So right before the pandemic hit, moving in here was sort of our first big risk that we took. We had been, working out of our garage, working out of a building on our property, a very small studio, and we had grown. We were literally bursting at the seams there. So we moved in here in November of 2019, and then COVID happened. We made it through all of that, and actually, it was very scary in the beginning, but we really managed to sort of ride the ride, basically. A lot of people, and they were stuck at home. They wanted to redo their living room. They wanted to put new furniture. So it ended up working out for us. So what you can see here and what we do, we primarily specialize in custom furniture as well as leather architectural installations. And so that's things like stair railings or leather wall paneling. Some of what you can see behind us are projects that are in progress. This is our workshop. So we work here. We also have 4 employees. Right behind us here is a beautiful credenza that is in progress with a lovely green leather walnut combination. We have some custom designed hinges that we made for that, which we're really excited about.
Where the name is coming from? Why Obsidian Leather Goods?
Oh, that's a great one. The name was actually Carson's inspiration. I'll let him answer.
So from the very beginning of leather, hunters and gatherers around the world have used obsidian as part of that process. And without obsidian, you wouldn't have been able to have that start. So that's kind of the nexus for that, was that it's this element that's intertwined with the creation of leather as a product. Nice. So that's kind of why we decided to go with obsidian as an idea, as a symbol for what we do, is that they are intertwined, and without each other, they wouldn't really be able to exist.
That's amazing. So if I am coming as a client and I want to work with you guys, I can be a designer, a homeowner. What is your favorite to work with?
I think our favorite people to work with are people that really have vision for what they want, but that are also willing to take risks in what they're willing to create. Something that is a little bit out of the box. But I really do enjoy working with people that have that creative drive, that have something they're like, I really want to create something new, something unique, and not just kind of repeat a motif or a design from another element that they've seen before. I really like standing out on a ledge and kind of diving off into the great unknown to try to find something that is new and fun.
They have a vision, but they're not sure if it's actually possible to execute. And that's something that we love. So many of our projects start out with an experiment and figuring out, is this possible? Can we do it? And we work with builders, architects, designers, occasionally a homeowner as well. But usually when people are doing something on this scale, they're working with a team. So that's something that we really love to just be an element of that process, where we can be a part of the design, and so many of the things that we do involve so much collaboration, where people are coming in and they have a vision and we show them how that can actually be executed into something they love and something that will last a lifetime.
All right. Well, one of the questions that I like to ask before this list of questions that you already saw, because we're in the construction, what do you think that is your happy place? We are in the construction. That can be your favorite spot here in Austin, in your house, favorite restaurant. I don't know. Where is that spot where you say, this is my happy place? You can answer that question individually.
For me, it's my garden. I grew up kind of in the country and had horses. We grew food. And so I really sort of ground myself in the dirt. And we have a big vegetable garden and we have chickens. And I love to be, planting tomatoes and digging in the flowers. And for me, that's where I find peace.
I think for me, that's always been kind of behind the handlebars. I find that no matter what kind of bike I'm on, that's always gonna just center me and bring me back to a good place. And that's kind of, what brought us here kind of as at the beginning. And so for me to always be able to just go back to riding a bike and enjoying that is really what I enjoy.
Fantastic. All right. Well, we can start with the questions if you guys are
Yeah,
ready.
absolutely.
So I have, of course, this dynamic. I have some of my favorite colors of Sherwin-Williams here. So I will pass you all of these little samples, chips, and colors. And each one is a different question. Just let me know which one you pick, and I can take a look to the list.
Okay. Well, let's start with chartreuse.
One of my favorite cocktail ingredients.
Okay, churches. Okay, if not architecture or this business, what would you be doing?
Oh yeah.
Do you want to start?
Yeah. So I've had a few other jobs in my life, and it would either probably be between being a river guide or working in the wine industry. I've done both of those things in the past, and both of them offer a lifestyle and an immersion in like natural beauty that you don't get to have in most of the rest of your life as a working person. Especially as a guide, you get to go to places that are people's once in a lifetime experiences, and getting to do that over and over and over again until you're just like saturated by it is just something that I love and would drop in a second to do again.
For me, if I wasn't doing this, I would probably be doing something with plants or with horses. I grew up riding horses and just being really involved in growing things, and so potentially landscape design or in a plant nursery, something like that.
Nice, very relaxing. Yeah. Do you feel that you have been like in contact with horses? And I have been like checking that there are a lot of therapies related with horses.
Yeah.
What do you think about those?
When I was in high school, I actually volunteered at a therapeutic horseback riding center for people with physical and mental disabilities. And that was one of the most rewarding things I've ever done.
Wow.
And I've seen sort of the magic that can bring. I remember working with a man who was blind and had some other things going on as well. And the first time we had a person on either side of him walking next to him and somebody leading the horse. And the first time that we trotted and he was moving with speed and sort of feeling the wind, the joy that I saw and the freedom was like honestly one of the most magical things I've ever seen.
All right, are you ready for the next one?
Yeah.
Here, I'll pick it blind. Carriage door.
What clients do you say no now that you will have to say yes to before?
We have a pretty hard rule now that we don't do any rush projects for parties. We were willing to do those things back in the day, and we've learned that that's not worth embarking upon, and it's always good to kind of help manage people's expectations.
In my experience, you're never going to find a more stressed out client than somebody scrambling to redo their home right before a big event. So if it's a long distance and it's a good timeline before that goal, we're happy to do it. But if somebody's having a party in 3 weeks and they need a rush, we don't do that anymore.
I mean, what you're doing requires a lot of detail and precision.
Yeah.
So for sure, I mean, I'm in the cabinetry world. So for sure, we do not do something that can be like a magic, oh, this is done and that's it. No, it requires a lot of design, thinking, and just like a process. Yeah. So yeah. I don't know, like, have you been have you had an experience where you have been like rushed and you decided to took that direction of, let's say no to this kind of projects?
We had one. It was actually a job we would have had to travel for.
Okay.
It was in Los Angeles, and it was a stair railing project. They were remodeling the house with the deadline of this party coming up, and that was one we worked for a long time with the designer trying to see if it would be possible, but they wanted a custom made leather that had a 6-week timeline, and as we were putting all of this together, we realized that if everything went perfectly, we would have 1 week to do our actual work.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
gosh.
nothing ever goes perfectly. So you never know if something's going to get stuck in customs, if the manufacturer is going to have a delay. And so that was one that we actually, once we realized that only if everything went absolutely perfectly could it be pulled off, we said, we can't guarantee this and we're not going to be able to meet this deadline. So we would be happy to do the project, but we can't say June 1st, we promise this will be done. And so that was, saying no has always kind of been difficult. And so that was a big lesson learned there, that it's okay to say no. And it's much better to say, no, we can't do this, than have everyone upset and
yes.
and not meet the deadlines and the expectations.
Of course, that your team matters.
Yeah.
And so you told me that you guys have 4 members of your team. For how long they have been employees of you guys?
We have one person that's been with us for about 3 years, and we actually have new folks that we've hired very recently. So we had some turnover recently. We had somebody that was with us for 5 years who we really loved, and we're very sad to see go. They had some personal things going on, and so we have one person that's been with us for 3 years. One person that's been with us
9 months, maybe.
Yeah, for about 9 months. And then 2 new folks who have actually started just a few weeks ago. And so it's been a lot of training and education lately, but they're doing really well. They both had strong sewing backgrounds. And so when people come in that way, they're really able to pick up the leather specific techniques, because working with fabric is much different than working with leather. But they've come in and been able to really hit the ground running.
When you realized that you needed some help other than you guys?
The very first time that we realized that was when we got our first big furniture order. It was for 30 chairs, and we
Oh my God.
started just trying to do it on our own, and we were like, we have to have another set of hands here, because it was sewing by hand for hours. We would get set up in our living room on the coffee table and put on a movie and just hand sew for 8 hours straight. And so that really, we started doing the math on it, and we were like, we're going to be here for a month and a half hand sewing if we don't get somebody else to help us. So that was really the first time where we were like, we need some additional help.
And that was 11 years ago?
Yeah, that was about 11 years ago.
Wow.
So we've had people helping us, kind of 1-2 people at a time. And then maybe around 2017 was when we really started bringing in more people. And then we got more limited by our space. And then we moved into here. And so we've kind of always had about 4 to 5 people working here to help us produce the products that we make, because it takes a lot of physical time. You can't just run it through a machine and call it done. And as of right now, there's no robots that can replace what we
Yes.
do. So,
AI, please,
Yeah.
AI. When this is going to happen?
yeah. So that's kind of the story.
One thing that I always joke about with our employees is I always thought that when the robots came, they would do manual labor, so we would be freed to do poetry and art and
Oh,
things like
please.
that. But instead, the robots came and they're doing poetry and art, and we're still doing manual
yeah.
labor. So it has not been, when I was a kid, what I envisioned would happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, art pieces is just like hard to be manufactured by a robot or something like
Yeah.
that. So are you ready for the next one?
Yes. Our next one is grounded.
Grounded. What does a real day in your life look like? Not Instagram.
Well, it's always different. Sometimes we're on a job site, sometimes we're doing an install or client meetings and traveling around. But the average day in the workshop is a lot of us moving around, working with our employees and doing training, working on projects ourselves. We're never sitting still very long.
No.
It's always moving around, sending an email, circling back, sort of tending to what's going on in the workshop.
Usually, we get up and I'll make coffee and we'll head into the workshop here and kind of make some plans about what our day is going to be like. I I'm very not disorganized, but reactive, I suppose, to the immediate things that are in front of me that need to be dealt with. So it's always good for us to sit down and have a meeting and say, okay, what are the important things that we actually need to focus on today and actually get done? And so that's where I think it really helps us to kind of like move through different problems. So we kind of sit down, do that organization, and then like Sandra said, like we're constantly moving in between different tasks and different things that need to be managed or different things that need to be worked on. So it's really not an average day. We don't come in and sit and like just do the computer work all day long. That would be exceptionally rare for us to have that be part of our.
What is probably the activity that you do not enjoy? Like you say, oh my gosh, if this can be like avoid, I'm probably like thinking that probably need to hire someone to do this task because I don't like it.
Oh, I know a good one for this. The surveys that came out for what were those called?
We got selected at one
Yeah.
point to be part of the IRS small business survey. And there were about 1 million questions and details and numbers and all sorts of things that it hasn't happened in a while, but we had
It
been
was a census. That's what it
Oh
was.
yeah, it was like an IRS small business
business
census.
Oh,
And we had to give them every detail of what we spent on various materials, our healthcare costs. The other one for me is being the health insurance administrator.
Yeah, that's a big one.
You know, as a business owner, I'm doing everything from hand sewing to emailing with health insurance brokers and
Wow.
doing all the reporting requirements for that. So those more bureaucratic elements are definitely the things that would be great to have somebody else handle.
At some point. we will
Yes.
have.
Yes.
Finger crossed.
We actually did recently, for the very first time. In the past, we've only ever had employees making things. And for the first time, we hired somebody just a few weeks ago in a hybrid role where they are doing project management and more administrative tasks in addition to working on our custom projects. And that was a little bit of a leap for us to let go of some of the elements of running the business. But even on day one, at the end of the day, we turned to each other and said, I'm so happy we did this because this is exactly what we needed. There's only so many things you can hold the responsibility of yourself at once when you're running a business.
And we only see the beautiful furniture that you guys do, and it's just like, oh, it's very, very complex. So congratulations about that. You're doing it great.
Thank you.
Next question.
Okay. Our next one is going to be
Tiger eye.
Tiger eye. Okay.
This one's really pretty.
That is a cool color.
That one is actually about nice stuff. What is the most meaningful compliment you have received?
Really, when people come back and they say, "Oh, this was so fun. This was such a cool process," and they really take us in as part of their client process. So that's always something that's kind of the biggest compliment because it's really great to make something and when people go, oh, that was really cool, I want to do that again. That's the biggest compliment we can get.
Yeah, we recently had a designer we've worked with in the past come to us and say, I just wanted to let you know we have an amazing project going on and we're going to work with you on a lot of elements of it. They basically were like, put a pin in it. We're coming. And we're so excited we can work with you on this. And that to me is like the biggest compliment we could possibly get is somebody who is excited. They have a client who wants leather and wants to, put those elements in their home.
What do you think that is the key, other than your product? I know that working with leather means that you are working in a piece that is completely different to other stuff that you are selling. So what do you think that is the key for the clients to come to you? Like that if they are coming back or if they are a new client, why do you think, or what is that little key that is what is different than any other?
I would say it's our approach that we are always going to make it right. And, when you're working with natural materials, when you're building things, there will always be something that goes wrong somewhere. And when it comes down to, a choice between the bottom line and giving somebody the high quality heirloom piece that they expect of us, we always choose making it right and doing things to our quality standard. And so that's something where, in the past we built a home, and it was kind of before we were so deeply involved in the industry. We didn't know the right people to go to. And there were so many elements where our contractor, something wasn't done well. And our contractor told us that's just the industry standard. And I vowed to have my industry standard always be the highest quality. And I think that's really what people expect of us and why they come to us.
Nice. And it's about the service, the approach that you have with the clients, and also those quality standards that are just like, because you are in the luxury high-end sector of the industry. So nice. I love it. So next question.
All right. Our next one is going to be Inspired Lilac.
What did you want to be as a child? How did you get here?
I'll give my short answer first. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a jockey. But I've been 5'10" since I was probably 14 years old. So that dream died pretty early. And I'll let Carson answer. He's probably got something a little more in depth.
I guess this kind of goes back to I grew up in a very artistic family, and I always kind of knew I wanted to do something creative, but I didn't really think that was something that you could go to school for, or even get a degree in, or really do as a passion, because as creative and amazing as all of my relatives are, and my grandparents were, they never saw a lot of commercial success with their products. And so I always wanted to do something in this design field, and didn't really know how to kind of navigate into that, because I just kind of was floating through that world. And so that's kind of something that I've kind of always wanted to do, aside from maybe dreams of becoming a professional bike rider. But
You've got to share the history of your grandparents too.
Yeah, so my grandparents met in 1951 in Santa Monica, California, or Venice Beach, really kind of just down the road from where we met, at the Herman Miller Eames Design Office on 1901 Washington Boulevard. So my whole family would not exist for not that shared design passion and inspiration that they both had for this industry. And so like I said, growing up, was just surrounded by all this amazing artwork and aesthetics and design. And I didn't think that it was that different from everybody else's world. But I have come to realize in my later years that, oh no, that was a profoundly special place and time for two people to meet and to have raised, 5 kids and involved us in such an amazing process. I mean, I remember my mom was always very involved with us being as creative as possible. We learned how to do bookbinding when we were probably, 7 with my grandmother. We learned to do printmaking, all these things. I started doing photography at a very young age. So I was very much brought into a creative world of expression very young, and taught that was valuable, because it wasn't always taken that way outside of school or career. It was like you're supposed to go to be a lawyer or a doctor or whatever these things, these other jobs were. And so, my mom especially really drove that design aesthetic at a young age, to be creative, to use all your skills.
I love it. Wow, what a deep story. I love it. I would love to see more of your family stuff. I
I
mean,
have some pieces in the front office, and we can show a little video of them maybe
nice.
later.
Absolutely.
Were actually made by my grandfather in I think 1962. He built those stools. And they were part of his efforts to become an independent designer and create a line of furniture. And they were part of a hibachi series.
Wow.
So they are a series of stools that were created that went with a hibachi grill table. And then they were actually sold at Cost Plus Imports
Mm-hmm.
in San Francisco and Los Angeles. And he made about 600 of them over the years, and they were sold at those stores. And none of them are signed. They're all created in different aniline dye colorways. So
Okay.
there are tons of different colors of them. And the two that I have were actually purchased from a dealer who got them from Howard Hughes's advertising director.
Oh, wow.
So they have a very interesting story that came with them, like being part of Howard Hughes's, team. They collected all these interesting artifacts, and they were bought in Los Angeles and in the early '60s, and made their way to me through. I got them off of First Dibs, but you can
Nice.
hunt them down other places. But they're
I'm so
very
happy
hard
that
to
you have
find.
them.
My grandparents and my mother moved a lot, and throughout all those moves, they lost a lot of pieces and products that they had made
Yeah.
over the years. And so for me to actually own something that my grandfather made is really special because it's rare and hard to find in
Yeah.
any family, and for how much they moved around and how much they lost over the years, it's really
Nice.
special.
Well, you guys have a lot of like pieces here in your facilities. Are you open to the public or just like, I don't know, like are you receiving clients here?
We do have clients come through, mostly designers, but sometimes individuals. And it's pretty much by appointment.
Okay.
Although we have had people drop by and just want to check it out.
Yes.
We always love having people here. We spent a little bit of time in a showroom. And what we realized, and even though the showroom was wonderful, for us, people really want to see the workshop. They want to see how things are made.
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier to grab a sample, show somebody a possibility, stitch something up real quick here.
Slice a piece of hide off the rack and give it to them as a sample or whatever they might need.
Yes.
It is a special place to be able to come and have all the materials and all the creativity kind of flowing in that same spot.
Of course, this has been like the best setup that I have done because I have some of your chairs and also this beautiful table in the center that is just like amazing. If you can tell me more about this leather that you guys use for this one.
Yeah. So this is actually a Mongolian goat hide. It's really wonderful. It's so soft, and it's actually pretty durable. We've had this guy around a while now, and we use it, sit on it, move it around. And so Carson can talk a little bit about how they actually make the pelts for this.
Like all leathers, it's processed for food, and they harvest them in the wintertime, so they have this gorgeous fur. And because the fur only grows this long on certain areas of the goat, they're patched together out of lots of small pieces. So it's very fun to work with because you get a plate that's made, it's called, and they're 2 by 4 feet, and then you can cut out your part, and then all the remnant pieces you can actually stitch back together into whatever size piece you need to make it out of. So it's a very efficient material to use because you can always just sew it together and make another piece, no matter how small the remnant is. So for something like this, we can just continually use it very efficiently. versus like a regular hide, you might have excess waste or cutouts or other things that you can't really use because you're not patchworking it together. But we really enjoyed making this piece. It was fun. We don't work a ton with fur, but when we saw this material, we were like, we have to do something with
Like
it.
a
It's
little
so
head.
fun. Yeah, exactly.
So soft.
One of our employees told us that it looked like one of the 90s era McDonald's Fry Kids.
Oh, really? I
And
have
pulled
seen
up the
those.
photos, and I was like, yep, that's it.
That's funny. The very last one.
All right. Let's see. Let's go with this one's really pretty. Rockwood Dark Green.
Rockwood that green. Okay, so how do you manage stress in such a demanding industry?
I think that goes back to the garden a little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah, I have reminders in my phone to just slow down and take a breath and to take a moment to just remind myself what I'm doing, to take a moment, because it is really hard to just not go full bore all the time. I think we find ourselves constantly moving to the next thing that we're working on, and without those reminders, it's a good way for me to just kind of take a break and remind myself that I need to slow down.
I've had to be really intentional about how I use my phone. One of the things that I did, it's probably been 10 years now, is that I don't get email notifications on my phone.
Love it.
I have it set up. I can access my email on my phone, but I don't get the ping every time something comes in. And the other thing that I have been very intentional about is, aside from rare occasions, I don't check my email on the weekend. That I really have to. It's so easy when you own a business to work all the time.
Yeah.
Evenings, weekends, it's always, and especially when you're a husband and wife that owns a business together, you can talk about work at dinner, you can talk about work at breakfast, you can talk about work all day, every day. And to take that step back and say, it's the weekend. And sometimes we'll get into a conversation about work, and we'll both stop and go,
We're not doing this right
We're-
now.
we'll talk about this on Monday.
Yeah.
Because you have to have a life outside of it
Yes.
too. And it's so important to reset and relax. And often that is where, solutions do find you. So a lot of what we do is trying to figure out how do I make this? How can I execute this vision that I have with the limitations of the material? And when you step back and let your brain relax and focus on something else, sometimes it just pops in. Well, what if you did it this way? And so that has been really helpful to learn that it benefits you and it benefits your business to have that life outside of it as well.
Lovely. Awesome. Thank you for taking the time for doing this on a
Oh.
Saturday.
Absolutely.
We are recording here, so you are in your facilities on a Saturday, which probably is a little bit better because, of course, I am assuming that people stays here just like working.
Yeah,
So-
there's usually behind us on all of these tables 4 people working away, and
There's a
it
lot
gets
of
loud.
noise from the machines,
Noise,
and
yes.
Yeah.
there's definitely better to do it on a day where there's quieter.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And thank you for having us. This
Yeah,
has been
absolutely.
wonderful.
Thank you for being part of this. And just the very last one, if you could give a little advice to future talents in the industry, I don't know, people that they want to work with leather or they want to specialize in design of custom stuff, what will be your best advice?
The best thing that I can say is don't be afraid to make mistakes. Before we do something perfectly, we do it wrong 3, 5, 10 times. We test everything, we test it again. And, so many of our employees they're people we've trained and have taught our techniques to. And the people who have succeeded the most are people who are not afraid to mess it up. And I always tell everyone when we're starting out, you're going to ruin this. You're going to ruin it a few times, and that's how you learn. First, you have to do it wrong to figure out how to do it right. You're going to have to pull that thread too tight and snap it once or twice to find where the limit is. And when we've trained, I mean, we've been doing this a long time. We've had employees for 11 years. And the people who struggle, even if they've got a good sewing background or, they've built things before, the people who don't give themselves that breathing room, that slack to do it wrong and learn from it, they're the ones who struggle. Somebody that comes in and is not afraid to just see what happens, mess it up a few times, those are the people that do really well.
I've always been a skill collector, and I think that learning as many different tools and skills that you can to help generate your designs and your ideas. Because if you know how something is made or how to make something, that makes you a better designer or a better creator, because without those tool sets or without those physical tools, it sends you down a road of creating things that maybe can't be made in the way that you want them to be or think they should be. And I find that if you are focused on skills and tools, you can be really creative with those elements and bring new things to light.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, guys, for being part of this.
Absolutely, thanks for having us.
I would love that we close this conversation if you can share your contact information, your website, your social media, how people can reach you guys out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure.
So our website is obsidianleathergoods.com. We're on Instagram at obsidian.leather. You can email me, Sandra at obsidianleathergoods.com.
Carson at obsidianleathergoods.com.
Yes. And that's one thing I've learned a lesson. I would have had a shorter URL if I went back in time, but it is obsidianleathergoods.com.
Okay. I will put it here for you guys so you can check it out. Visit their social media, check all their projects. You were collaborating with Austin Home, so if you take a look, you try to find them online on Google, you can find the beautiful stuff that they were having in a display. So that's amazing. And of course, you guys should come here, set an appointment, and just experience this beautiful fragrance of the of the leather, because you enter here and it's just it smells so good. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for being part of this. And of course, go and follow us on Instagram at _creative blueprints. Go to my professional account at mitsiavila.designer. Follow us on Instagram. Check all the other episodes that we have here in YouTube. And I will see you in the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Bye.